Still in net score wins mode. Maybe the last time your offense sees the ball. Geno Smith will drop deep. He'll pump. He'll take it. Lost the football. Knocked out by Watt. Recovered by Devin Bush, who circles the right way. He almost lost the ball, but he's got it at the 16. And the Smith fumble forced by the defensive star, T.J. Watt.
Yeah, he's one of the best defensive players in the game. He's a game wrecker. He's a playmaker. He just kept beating at the door, beating at the door, and beating at the door. And then finally he got through. And, you know, then the floodgates opened up, and he just started making big plays.
Hi, everybody. I'm Missi Matthews. Happy Victory Monday. A thrilling game at Heinz Field between the Steelers and the Seattle Seahawks. Heading into overtime, Pittsburgh winning 23-20. Let's break it all down as the Steelers prepare to head into their bye week of the 2021 season. Joining me today, Bob Labriola of Steelers.com and Steelers Digest. Craig Wolfley, former Steelers offensive lineman and also of DVE. And we have Dave Dameshek all the way from LA once again from the Extra Points Network. So, guys, I think everyone's sleep deprived, but happy waking up with the Steelers sitting at 500 heading into their bye week. Labs, I'll start with you. What did you learn about this Steelers team on Sunday night?
Well, they're resilient. They're a resilient bunch, and there's a lot to be said for that. But I also learned that, you know, there's a specific way I believe that the Steelers have to play to be able to win games, regardless of the competition or the perceived quality of that competition. And if they don't follow the recipe and play well, they can lose to just about any team on their schedule. I do believe that we didn't see a continued level of excellence from the offense that we had seen the previous week from Denver. And I'm sure that that's going to be a hot topic of discussion around the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex here for the next few days.
Wolf, what was your biggest takeaway?
You know, the biggest takeaway for me was that, like Bob, I think resiliency was big and abounding, but there's something special about a team that can play with a lead, lose that lead, then when everything seems to be going really bad, they have that extra whatever it takes to dig deep and get the job done. I can't say enough about that. When you lose all the momentum and everything's now looking a little bit shady and things are looking not so good, and suddenly your big players come up and do the great things that great players do in the great moments, it says something about the temerity of your team and the internal strength of your team to weather the storm and then right the ship and get the job done.
Dave, what did you learn about the Steelers? Sunday Night Football for you, probably not as late on the West Coast.
No, it was a breeze for me. Yeah, I'm 3 hours behind you guys. What I learned overall, may I make a statement about Pittsburgh, the sports town, what remains close to undefeated. When the Pitt Panthers and the Penguins win on Saturday, the Steelers are a near lock to take care of business on Sunday. Beyond that, you know, picking up where the fellas left off there, it's not college football. Style points do not matter. The reigning champion, Tom Brady, and the Buccaneers almost got by the Eagles on Thursday Night Football. That's just one of many examples. It does not matter. Survive. I said it last week when we talked. Whether they win 3-2 or 98-93 matters not to me. We are now at 500. Fortnight to rest up, get right, and get ready for them Brownies who are banged up themselves and all of a sudden look like it's not a certain loss. And probably 2-3 weeks ago, you would have been hard pressed to find anybody who would say that the Steelers had a shot going over there.
Yeah, Dave, great point. And the Browns are also playing on Thursday night this week, so a short week with them dealing with a ton of injuries. But sticking with the Steelers defense, Labs, we have seen what T.J. Watt is able to do, a game wrecker, as Cam Heyward put it. But Cam himself, not too shabby and maybe really holding down that defensive front without Tyson Alualu and Stephon Tuitt. Do both of those guys need to be superheroes for this to work?
Well, I think that the Steelers are a team, just like a lot of other NFL teams, that have to deal with this every week. Your stars have to be stars. There's not that much variance from one roster to another in the NFL, particularly, you know, among the teams in the top half of the league. And so as Mike Tomlin would say, your A players have to play A. And on defense, those are the Steelers' A players. And what I seem to notice, and maybe Wolf can confirm this or correct me, but in the second half when Seattle was running the football seemingly through up and down the field at will, anytime they ran to Cam Heyward, it was not very successful. Anytime they ran away from Cam Heyward, it was more successful. And so that's why Cam Heyward is Cam Heyward. I mean, TJ Watt is earning as someone said in the post game, that's why he's compensated the way he is. He's a star. He's compensated as a star, and stars are expected to do star things at those critical moments. And so the answer to your question, the bottom line is yes, they do have to be heroes, but also the answer to that is, and that's what they need to be because that's who they are.
Wolf, going off what Lab said and his question to you, what do you think about that?
Would answer to one thing I'd say is, no, they don't need to be superheroes, but it sure does help, doesn't it? I mean, you got to love that. They come out and they do things that I don't know. I'm sitting there going, we're watching them get shredded on defense. You're saying, Gadzooks, please, somebody step up and make the play. And just like Labs was talking about, you run away from Cam Heyward, well, you pick on the other guys that are in there, be it Isaiah Buggs, Knucklehead #1, or maybe Chris Wormley, whoever you want, whatever Cam's nicknames are for them guys. But the fact was, when you needed it most, you had the big guy, Cam Heyward, step up. You had TJ Watt step up and combine their superheroes. And what a job it was. And that is exactly what you say, Labs. That's why you pay that dude all that money, because that dude comes across with some of the best play I've seen this side of Joe Green. And I do mean that reverently for, in the sense of loving Joe Green and what a magnificent foundation stone he is to this franchise. But that was a superb, timely performance by TJ Watt in the fourth quarter. Moving on from there, I mean, it was just, I just shake your head.
Dave, just to throw some stats into this, TJ Watt became the first NFL player to have 2 sacks and a forced fumble in OT since sacks were tracked in 1982. And Cam Heyward's line, 9 tackles, 6 solo, 2 tackles for loss, a sack, and a quarterback hit. Superheroes?
Oh, yeah.
Well, first of all, if we're throwing stats around, I got to throw a stat. Wolf just, for the second time in a row, I mean, verbal dexterity. I mean, what range he has. Another Gadzooks and a temerity. Good for Wolf on that. And yeah, I guess the bottom line is you do need them to play like superheroes. And, I understand that fans look at the team and they anticipate, and Coach T talks a lot about next man up and all of that stuff. But as it happens, when you put the backups in, they're probably not going to perform at the same level as number 90 is when he's 100% healthy. You saw the difference there, versus, let's say, for long ago Steelers fans, the 76 defense. That level of defense doesn't exist in the 21st century. You don't smother NFL offenses to single digits any longer. It's about getting turnovers, giving your offense 1 or 2 more shots over the course of 60 minutes, or in the case of last night, 68, 69 minutes. And yeah, the bottom line is that those guys rose up when the Steelers needed them most. And the thing that vexes me, I don't want to get in the rear view mirror here, but I do wonder, when Kevin Colbert on down built this team, looking at the 2021 slate, the first third of the season was going to need to be dominated by the defense. I wonder if you had TJ Watt against the Raiders, if he makes a play, if he gets the Derek Carr whisker before he can unload the Henry Ruggs. But let's not worry about that. We're 500. Like I say, we have 2 weeks to get right for the Browns now.
That's right. Clean slate after the bye week. Okay, let's get your blood pressure going a little bit more, Labs. I'm sure it was a roller coaster for everybody. That final sequence to end regulation before we went to overtime, a lot of things in terms of the momentum. After the 2-minute warning, Chris Boswell nails a 52-yard field goal. Everyone's thinking, all right, this is not going to be so bad. Labs, where did your head go when Geno Smith got the ball back?
Well, I was just hoping that, one of the famous tenets of football is you always have a chance because the other team has coaches too. And what I was hoping was, I remember when it was the Legion of Boom, the Seahawks could have had back-to-back Super Bowl championships if in the second one they would have just given the ball to that guy they called Beast Mode. And I was hoping that they were going to go back to not doing what seemed to me to be the obvious plan based on how the game had unfolded up to that point. You know, why the Seahawks were throwing the ball on 3rd and 4, I have no idea. 3rd and 4, at that part of the game, I'd have run it twice. Because, as I said, the Steelers' defense, the way I was seeing the game, really had not exhibited to me a consistent ability to stuff the run. It happened every now and then, but then 25-yard runs, 11-yard runs, 14-yard runs were happening as well. So that's where my head was when the Seahawks had the ball. Please, please, please let Geno throw it instead of handing it to Alex Collins. And then the other thing is I'm a known skeptic, critic, hater of NFL officiating. And once again,
not you, Labs.
Once again, the arbitrariness of the officiating last night to me is a problem. Why those guys felt the need to review a play to me that I could see clearly from the press box with no binoculars, that DK Metcalf caught the ball, secured the catch, that he made a football move, that the ball was popped out, it was a fumble, that Freddie Swain clearly recovered the ball. There's no need to review any of that stuff, but they decided they needed to, and it stopped the clock. And they injected themselves into a football game in a way that could have determined or affected the outcome. And to me, that's just inexcusable on any level of professional sports, particularly the NFL, which I consider the premier sports league in America. But, you know, Sean Smith and the guys keep doing stuff like that, could change my mind.
Wolf and Dave, what did you guys think, especially when you saw James Pierre punch that ball out?
Go ahead, David. Take a shot, buddy.
Well, to get back, but just before the Seahawks get the ball back with with time remaining in regulation, I did feel like, easy to, again, get in the rear view mirror. But on 2nd and 5, I felt like a run there was called for because you could burn the clock and run it pretty close to giving very little time to the Seahawks, or at least forcing them to burn timeouts there. Roethlisberger went up the left sideline to chase Claypool, and he had the OPI and pushed him back. All ended up working out there, but I wonder about that. I mean, of course, I'm with Labs on that. And I wonder if there was a delay in the review by 2 plays, because it was the play before that Metcalf pinned the ball to his hip and it was a catch. But I wonder if even the delay that they stopped it there was to review that play 2 ago. It was very confusing what was going on, because that was more in question, as far as I'm concerned, than the second play that they did end up reviewing. It made my head spin, is the bottom line.
I would agree. Here's the thing about it. I was panicking. I was tearing my hair out, which I did a great job, as you can tell. The fact was,
Gadzooks!
Gadzooks, exactly so. I mean, I think about the officials inserting themselves into the process as that clock is one. It was mind-blowing to me. All right, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I'm not the smartest guy out there. But I'm looking at it going, that doesn't look right at all, by any means at all. So, I mean, just the fact that they could, again, insert themselves into the final seconds of that game that could have cost a whole week's worth of work and a lot more going into the bye week for the Steelers. I just found it just wrong, man, really wrong.
And here's another point. If the Seahawks wanted to complain about, the clock stopping, well, both Metcalf and Swain could have gotten out of bounds.
Good point.
Teach your own players to manage the clock instead of depending on the officials or the replay official, because it was inside the 2-minute warning. So that call for a review has to come from upstairs. So maybe it was, not the on-field referee, but the replay official who was at fault for this. I don't know. And I don't know that we're ever going to really find out, because nobody circles the wagons like the NFL when it comes to finding out who or what officiating mistakes were made. So, again, it just didn't seem right to me. And I don't like the idea that officiating, again, Wolf, as you also said, inserting itself into the game in a way that could have potentially impacted the outcome.
Well, and also I wonder if, they can find other things when they're reviewing. If they see something else, they're allowed to call that too. I always think back, getting in the Wayback Machine, to the AFC title game against the Ravens when Santonio Holmes caught the touchdown pass apparently at the goal line. Tomlin wanted to review it. They reviewed it and said, oh, no, he actually fumbled the ball before he crossed the goal line that could have swung the entire season and sent the Ravens to the Super Bowl. Same thing here. What about Russell Wilson standing on the field? You can't do that just because he's going to the Hall of Fame or whatever other excuse. Remember when Coach Tomlin put his foot on the field in Baltimore on Thanksgiving night? I suspect that they should have been looking a little more closely at that. What's Russell Wilson doing on the field telling Swaim to get the ball back to the referee so that they can get another snap and stop the clock? That was outrageous, wasn't it? I mean, he's not allowed out there like that. They should have moved him back 15 yards.
That's what happens when you're NFL royalty.
I guess.
All right, guys, I hate to do it, but we are going to take a quick break here on the Extra Point presented by Microsoft Surface. It was a great halftime there. You see all of the greats, lots of gold jackets, defensive players of the year in attendance for Alumni Weekend. We're going to talk about the Steelers offense in just a bit.
You are here for history tonight. In the 102-year history of the National Football League, there has never been more than 2 members of any team enshrined in the same year. Tonight, you have 5 Pittsburgh Steelers that are being enshrined.
Rushing touchdown. Did you have that on the bingo card tonight?
What a great job, because that caught Seattle completely flat-footed there. They were not ready for a little jet sweep with the tight end.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Extra Point presented by Microsoft Surface. Time to talk about the Steelers offense now. Labs, they got off to a fast start at halftime, probably thinking, okay, this is good, but then a slow finish at the end.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, Missy, it was a little disappointing to me that there seemed to be no building upon what the unit had established against the Broncos. Some of the things that, Mike Tomlin constantly preaches about, we may look at them as just classic coach speak, but then when you see them put into effect against the Broncos, and by that I meant stay ahead of the chains, don't commit penalties, create third and manageables, and then convert the possession downs, be effective in the red zone. All of that stuff that they did, I thought, extremely well, and also in the Denver game as well as in the previous game against the Packers. They got off to a quick start in the first quarter. Touchdowns on the game's opening possession in each of those 2 games. I don't know that the Steelers had even 3 or 4 first downs in the whole first quarter, against the Seahawks. And degree of difficulty is another thing that kind of disappointed me. The Seahawks came into the game against the Steelers with statistically NFL ranked one of the worst defenses in the league, and they just never took advantage of it.
Well, did the Seattle Seahawks do anything different in the second half, or was it just, the Steelers not doing things they needed to do?
Well, one of the things they started to do was effectively run, if you're talking about the Seattle offense, was, they play a lot of 12 personnel. They got 2 tight ends. And one of the things that I was surprised at was the patience of Alex Collins to be able to run to the front side and wait and then pitter-patter his way. Max Starks was referring to it as the Michael Flatley, river dance effect. He took river dance lessons, whatever. But he was cutting back and doing a great job of cutting back and making people miss. I got to tell you, whether it was 11 personnel, 12 personnel, 13 personnel, they blocked the Steelers defense, whatever they came, whether it was base Okie. One of the things that really showed me about that was Tyson Alualu was not only unheralded and overlooked, but he was really unheralded and overlooked. I mean, it's just that guy meant so much to this defense in the base look. And you see it without him, and just what a great nose tackle can do. He can stuff up a running game like they ate a cheese ball, right? I mean, it's like unbelievable. So losing Tyson Alualu and not being able to have Stephon Tuitt, those are two key aspects. And the Steelers got to come back to making sure they get their run fits, because they did not fit their runs very well at all.
Dave, in terms of the Steelers offense, I know last week we talked about replacing Juju Smith-Schuster. Tight ends picking it up for the Steelers in terms of that on Sunday night?
Heath. I mean, I think that says it all. Yeah. I mean, it would appear that he'll get more targets with 19 out. I do have to say very quickly, and call me a cheese ball if you wish, Wolf, but the halftime, that is great. You know, we've all been around, seen different pro sports outlets. It does break through so often in the age of free agency. Guys, basically, it feels like they get traded from one field office to the next. When you land in Pittsburgh, whether it's Alu, the shout out, his choice to come back to Pittsburgh when he maybe had a better deal somewhere else, is the tip of the iceberg. It does break through with these professional athletes that it's something special to be wearing the black and gold. And I know we're talking on a black and gold outlet here, so it's easy to accuse me of being a homer here, but I do think it matters. And I think our next gold jacket, or one of the next gold jackets, we really need to start building the conversation that Chris Collinsworth was jumping in on Sunday Night Football. Cam Heyward maybe needs a gold jacket when it's all said and done. Either way, I do think, and talk about old man rhetoric about like the Steelers should run the ball and play good defense. As it happens going forward, defenses are going to start to rise up. It is fact that is what happens over the course of a pro football season. As that starts to happen and the Steelers get more physical running the ball, they're going to be a better team. I sincerely believe that the worst is behind them in terms of what the Steelers are as a 2021 collective. And I think that as long as, now 2 more weeks to work with that young offensive line, I think there's a chance to really make some hay over this next 3 games before they really get into a very nasty stretch for the final third of the season.
All right. Well, the Steelers entering their bye week by stacking 2 wins, so that is a good sign. Guys, I hope you get some sleep. Enjoy your bye week. Thanks so much for joining me here today on the Extra Point presented by Microsoft Surface. We'll see you guys in a few weeks after the Cleveland Browns game.
What's up, Steelers Nation? It's TJ Watt. Welcome to the Pittsburgh Steelers official YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to our channel to stay up to date on everything going on in the Steel City. Thank you for being the best fans in football. Here we go.